They come down on him pretty hard. He was swinging in the presser, and he gets the axe. Sack me or back me. They sack him. How are we doing?
14 months into the tenure, 38% win rate, one final that sticks in our memory. And, hey, I'm glad they acted when they did. Shouldn't have been appointed in the first place. Should have been fired on the 22nd of May after that Bilbao disaster. But better late than never. Ineos had mud all over their face. But at the end of the day, Ruben Amorim, he wasn't ready for the job. He showed it. He showed it in the press. We saw the same thing with David Moyes when he came in 2013. The job was too big for him. Ruben Amorim from day one, the job was too big for him. And also stubborn. Also the ego, of size of other Portuguese individuals. Massive for some reason. Can't understand why. But he's gone. It's a mess. It's an existing mess for Manchester United. Ineos look like clowns. They are clowns. Amorim's smiling ear to ear. That stings. And at the end of the day, here we are with another interim manager, another emergency podcast. And I feel like I'm losing my mind because it's 2026 and we are no closer to the promised land. How are we feeling? How are we doing?
We started this podcast, 2017. Jose Mourinho just won the Europa League. And we thought we were destined to win 21. It is 2026, and we've had too many of these pods. I think that's really the problem with Manchester United. Look, anytime a club sacks a manager, it's not good. It's not something that you ever want to see. And the fact we've done it in this many successions and this often is horrific. And the fact you finish 15th and on the back of that, you're sacking another manager. I think you're right. The appointment wasn't right. I don't think it's because he wasn't ready for the job. I think it's because Manchester United is a shit show. It was a shit show after Eric Ten Hag. The $600 million that he got to spend really put this team in a bind, and we had to unwind it, right? The Antonys, the Rashfords, the Sanchos, etc. So that there was a lot of work to do. And Amorim just wasn't the boring yes man who was going to get that job done for United and eat crow in the press for like 3 to 4 years, rebuild the team, be patient. Instead, he was like a win now Mourinho guy. He wasn't willing to kind of just kowtow to Wilcox and Barada managing the roster or not doing it on his agenda. And we said it. If you watch the podcast we dropped last night, we showed a clip of when he was appointed. I said, look, this team is not in good shape, and I don't think the young buck that is Ruben Amorim is ready to like deal with the situation. You need someone who can steady the ship. Like an Ancelotti could do that. Some big titans of world football, maybe an Eddie Howe who's done it in Newcastle, somebody like that who can actually get the club from not a good spot to a good spot. Amorim's like when you're in a good spot and you're just looking for the next hot thing, you kind of throw gasoline on the fire, but it wasn't meant to be. The three at the back, he wouldn't change it. The Wilcox row that apparently happened. But overall, this looks bad on Ineos. They fired Dan Ashworth to hire this guy. It failed. Jim Ratcliffe giving interviews, he's going to back him for 3 years. Doesn't. So I literally think the main theme is Glazers, Ineos, not good. We need the debt cleared. We need a proper takeover. And Amorim, I'm sure if he looks back on this in 10 years, he would do it differently because yelling in the press and acting and smiling like that's not a good look, and it just doesn't respect the role, so to speak. So a tough time for United fans, but we also need to clear the air. It's calma right now for United. We need to calm things down, get back to boring football, and try to chip up that table, sir.
No, let's get back to basics, like you said. The type of players, type of manager that I wanted even a year ago when we did this appointment. Neither you nor I wanted Ruben Amorim, but we did want an up and exciting manager that fits the profile of where this club wants to be. But at the same time, like you said, we're a mess at the moment. I think we're in a better position today than we were 14 months ago when he was appointed because some of that deadwood hasn't moved out. The quality of the players coming in is good, but there still are holes in the squad. But he buried himself because of two things, because of stubbornness and unwillingness to change in the back three, which I get it. You came in, but like, dude, you ain't Mourinho. You ain't Pep. You haven't won nothing. And to be that adamant that you will not change, that you're so convinced you're right. Yeah, shame on United for appointing a guy who's that stubborn and that kind of focused on just system first. But I think we'll get into Rooney's comments later. You got to earn that right to be that stubborn, and he ain't earned that yet.
Earn it, maybe.
And those pressers are an embarrassment. Jose did it at the end of his tenure because he was trying to get fired. I have every belief that these press conferences were more inflammatory because this is exactly what we wanted. He got fired. He wanted to get fired. You could see from the photo of him walking with his wife the morning after, he was thrilled.
Well, 10 million pounds to the good.
10 million pounds, bro. He ain't deserve it.
Let's get into the club's statement. It is interesting because they do mention this like they reluctantly wanted to fire him. So club says Amorim has departed his role as head coach of Manchester United, which is ironic he was pounding the table. Look at me, I'm the manager. No, you're the head coach.
Got him. Then you get him on the way out. Dug him.
With Manchester United sitting in 6th in the Premier League, the club's leadership has reluctantly made the decision that it's the right time to make a change. This will give the team the best opportunity of the highest possible Premier League finish. And I think it's because Amorim and Wilcox got into this row, and Amorim was not happy to really continue, and he decided to really just blow things up. People can say, look, he didn't get the striker he wanted and all of this, and he wasn't going to get backed in January, but if he just kind of kept it together and continued to work with them, I do think they would continue to back him in the summer, and I think the team would be better. We would be better off with Ruben Amorim, who's flexible, willing to work with the Wilcox and Brada over the next 6 months to get European football. We'd have a better chance of getting it with him than an interim. An interim throws a wrench into it. You can't expect it. And so I think when they say reluctantly, it was reluctantly. And after the big blow up, Amorim kind of forced his hands. Now, you could argue, is he right to do that? Sure, he's a back three guy. He's not going to change to a back four. He's not a company man. He's not a yes man. What I said Ineos needed was a yes man. He's the opposite of that. He's more of a Mourinho guy, my way or the highway, maybe ego guy, someone who is a little Portuguese. Maybe I got that in me, sir, but at the end of the day, it's not a good look. And the Telegraph reporting out today, all this is breaking live. We're doing the best to get all these little pieces. There's some less reputable sources we're going to use just because there's not a lot out. Telegraph says Manchester United made the decision to sack Amorim before Sunday's draw with Leeds after a meeting between Amorim and Wilcox signaled to the club's hierarchy that the relationship was unsustainable. Wilcox had attended the meeting to be a positive look at the evolution of the team, but when the system was raised, the Portuguese coach blew up. And everything I know about Ruben Amorim,
spot on. I believe that all
we
day.
said it on the pod last night, just being like, I bet you Wilcox has tried to tell him to play this way, and he just freaked out. Like, he just can't handle it and won't do it. And look, he's a man sticking to his principles, but United are going through a transition, and we need flexibility. The fact that they were willing to be flexible with him or asked him to do it, and he freaked out, tells you he's not the man for this transition. Maybe he could have been the man with the finished article, however much you like Ruben Amorim, but right now it's not a fit for United because we need someone who's open to playing ball with this organization, and he wasn't.
Yeah, and even sometimes he was being honest, he nailed it. Even, was it 4 weeks ago? I mean, in December, he was saying, hey, I don't think I have the time and the money to get this system that I want to, in as quickly as we need to in order to get things going on the pitch. I'm going to be flexible in order to use what I have. And he was kind of signaling his willingness to go to the back four. That was probably pushed by the front office, but he seemed open to it. It worked. It worked in that Newcastle game. It was a gritty performance where we played the back four the whole time and gritted it out, a big 3 points against a tough Newcastle side. And then he reverted back. Again. I just think he's a little bit nuts, this guy, too stubborn for his own good. And I think it's this new wave of managers. You saw it with Maresca. You saw it with Vincent Kompany, where you have these guys who have won, Maresca won a couple things. Vincent Kompany won nothing. Ruben Amorim's won nothing.
Club World Cup.
Yeah, like Club World Cup, sweet. And the Conference League. But, you get my point is that, they're so defiant. They have the defiance of a Fergie, the defiance of a Pep Guardiola or Jose Mourinho, and they haven't earned it yet. And I think certain people respect that. I mean, Vincent Kompany, he failed up, ended up at Bayern Munich from Burnley, which is incredible. But at the end of the day, this is not what Ineos wanted. This is not what needed to happen. Ruben Amorim forced their hand. They had no other choice. They really did not want to fire him. They did not want to fire him.
No, and I think
did not, but he had to. They had to fire him.
He should manage the team to the end of the year and figure out if we get top four.
Right.
Look, the football wasn't great.
No.
The results weren't great. But, you shouldn't chop and change it. But I think Amorim made it unsustainable. And maybe his reasons are justified. But his behavior is what you have to call into question. Is be like, if you're going to be the manager of Manchester United, you're a steward of this great club. Or the head coach, whatever. But you have to be able to handle the press. You have to be able to deal with disagreements with the front office. That's going to happen. You can't just throw your toys out with the Prem. Also, the emotional reactions after Grimsby, these inflammatory quotes, that's where I feel like he kind of lost the plot a little bit. And look, he wears it on his sleeve. Some people like that, but that's going to impact whoever hires him next. Because who's going to be wanting that? You know, and Maresca as well. I would argue that you don't want a Maresca around if he's going to be throwing mud at you in the press and is sort of a wild card. You would do that with Mourinho because of his resume is impeccable. But, you know, to Rooney's point, look, the decision in the article, they also go on to say the decision to sack Amorim was made by Omar Barada, the chief executive, and Jason Wilcox with support from the board. So it's a clear. I do like how they're framing that. Instead of sort of Jim calling the shots, they're actually letting Omar be the CEO, working with his DOF, and there is a hierarchy there. However, you might not agree because those guys actually appointed him in the beginning. Going on, Ben Jacobs reported there was no power struggle or ultimatums, but understand there was just a breakdown between Amorim and Wilcox, obviously the system being sensitive to that. So there wasn't a crazy power struggle, just like a disagreement, and most likely, we don't know all the details, that was about him switching to a back four because they didn't have the money or the ability to give him the players he needed to continue to play his system, which sucks if you're Amorim. And by the way, Ineos probably lied to him that they would get everybody when they recruited him here. So he's valid to think that.
This is a great one.
Another wrinkle in it, this is coming from the Daily Mail, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. Chris Wheeler goes on to basically say, hey, after Newcastle and the back four looking good, everyone thought that the back four would come back against Wolves. And Amorim had planned to do that. The team trained for that. And then right before the match at the last second, Amorim switched it back to a back three because I felt like he probably thought on his own, you know what, I'm not changing. You know, I'm not like Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not leaving. Right. Like he went up there to give the speech. I'm leaving. And at the last second, I'm not leaving. I'm not changing.
They're wrong.
And then after this, Wilcox had the meeting, the blow up. Here you go. So Amorim, in a nutshell, is I ain't changing it. I'm not the head coach. You can't tell me what to do. I'm the manager, and you're gone. And that's ultimately how I think it happened through piecing together all the tea leaves here.
And based on what we've seen, and based on like the consistency of press conferences, right, the tactics that we've seen, how much conviction there had in the result of that Newcastle performance, and the fact that he was able to look at that tape, see the performance they gritted out with the back four, and be like, you know what? They're wrong, not me. Everyone else is wrong, even in spite of himself. That's not somebody you could go to war with. This is war. This club's a mess. They're carrying 2 decades of bad management. And Ineos are making mistakes themselves with very little runway because we have such little cash. We have so much debt. You need someone who's going to be like, hey, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work together. Every manager that's ever been a manager at this club, even Fergie in his last legs, was screwed over by the board and didn't get the players they want. We've always been a couple positions short every window, kicking the can on striker, kicking the can on central mid, kicking the can on defense. And it's always been the case. He's no different than the managers that came before him. Like I said, even Fergie at the end basically had to like kick he had to put up a whole like kerfuffle to even get RVP. And he said he's going to walk. So this is nothing new. You just need somebody who at this point is going to be like, comma, like you said, not make a big stink of it. And
he should have played the back. Everybody knows that he should have played the back four against Wolves. And then guess what the result of Wolves was? It was drawing the worst team in Premier League history using your system, the system that you switched back to. And what does that make the players better? If you're going to train one way all week and then switch it the last minute, or are you just serving your own agenda? And then that's when you get into this whole like, are you on Manchester United's team or are you on Ruben Amorim's team? And I know there's got to be a difference because he's got to be thinking about what's best for the club. And I felt like at the end, it wasn't like that. Jumping the next bit of news here, Rob Dawson from ESPN, he's kind of contradicting some things, saying, hey, there was no, the decision did not have any elements of disagreement, and it was only performance-based. So Rob Dawson, shout out to you, coming in and cleaning up with the party line there. But there's a lot of different sources saying a lot of things. I want to mention that Rob Dawson did come out and say, hey, the idea that this was because of this row between Wilcox and Amorim is false. I actually think it validates it because ultimately you're hearing the story, the timeline matches up, and then you have someone playing cover for the club in the press.
By the way, there's more than enough stuff there to fire him just over performances. You can just literally take the press conference.
This season
was an improvement.
If we were 10th, if it's 3 months from now and we fade to 10th, you still keep him to the
We
end
could
of
be
the
there
year.
in a month.
You still keep him to the end.
No,
of the
I
year.
agree. But at the end of the day, it's never just one factor. But there's plenty of stuff on the pitch to get rid of him.
No, he was acting like a
It's
fool.
been an
That's
improvement
number
this
one
season.
reason. Number one reason.
But of course, there's an element of this. This is the company line. Everything was fine. He was poking the eye of the directors in press conferences in advance of games. They were doing embargoed press conferences, and you get all these bombshells that come out. That's not good for anybody.
Of course it's
He
not.
made his own
He's got to
bed.
get heat off the club, not heat on the club. He's got to be a team player. And
He's
by the
all
way,
about
if you've
him.
ever worked with
Ruben
anyone,
Amorim, all about him.
if you ever worked with anyone, you're like, hey, would you be a little flexible on this? And someone's like, no. Like,
How is that to work with?
unless you're like Steve Jobs, usually the answer is like, that's
fired.
not a great quality. So, the jury's out on where he's headed. And then probably the worst part about it is
This.
the reports coming out again, Daily Mail, take him with a grain of salt, that he went to Carrington and he was dapping everyone up, smiling, laughing, like no big deal. And then he obviously goes for a stroll, which, Eric Ten Hag left, head down in the car so you couldn't see him. Ole had the crying interview. That is not standard. It's usually leaving in the car with the head down, maybe hiding away, going to Ibiza for 2 weeks. He walked right out of his house with a big old smile on purpose.
On purpose.
And so this is a big FU. And I felt like to Amram, this has always been about an FU situation or a fight with the board. And, I think ultimately, as someone who's probably the similar age as Amram, and maybe I'm more mature in my professional career.
You are.
He'll look back on this and think that he acted like a fool, because this is not a good look. You don't need to be somber, but just kind of thumbing your nose at it that's a young man ego game, and ultimately other clubs are looking at this, and it's not going to help you.
It wasn't like he was going to walk the dog. It's like he's going out in the snow just to walk around in front of all the journos with a big old smile on his face, big old smile on his wife's face. This kind of speaks to what kind of individual. He is a Ruben Amorim first individual. I wish him all the best.
That's fine.
But
you have to have an ego as a manager.
But what top club is going to want this? Like, unless he's going to have to take a step down.
This is the
next.
Amorim show, and the Amorim show's leaving. And you know what?
Well,
We got to get boring.
later, bro.
Manchester United's got to get boring because with 38% win rate, you can't have that much drama.
When David Moyes looks
if
like
you
a
had
good manager,
60% win rate, we're winning trophies. You could yell all you want in the press. You can create all the drama you want. But I think that's where it is. It's like the results plus drama. Results alone this year, fine. But results plus the Ruben Amorim show, it was too much for them to handle.
Yeah, and there's too much inconsistency. The pressers are volatile. He's all over the place. He contradicts himself constantly. If you go back to the tape over the last 8 weeks, he is Jekyll and Hyde. He's saying one thing, and then after the game, even if they get a result, he's pissed off because they changed the formation, and it makes him look like a chump. He only cares about himself. It was a bad appointment. It was worse to keep him past May, and now you know what? I'm just happy Ineos did it. They probably didn't have to do it midseason, but based on how things have gone over these last couple of weeks, ever since the back four came out, you had to get rid of him because it's just too toxic for the club. And we should go boring. Darren Fletcher, we'll talk about that in a second. He's failing up. God bless him.
Manchester United is not Chelsea
bring it back to
Football
boring.
Club.
No, we're not.
We're not Chelsea.
But he had to go.
By the way, Ruben Amorim, perfect for Chelsea.
Perfect
fit.
Ego,
attitude,
asshole,
ego, just the whole thing. Manchester United is not like that, and we need someone who can handle the press, someone who's calm at the head of the ship, because this is a transition. I think Ineos is realizing there's a lot more work to do than they originally thought. They went with the hot guy win now strategy. By the way, didn't work. Should have gone with the Ashworth slow burn 5 years boring strategy. And I think that's where we're headed. And look, I think that's good because we need to relax. There's been a lot going on. Going from Eric Ten Hag to Ruben Amorim, I'm kind of stressed about. I need to just get back to watching games. It was when it's all about the pressers.
You're losing.
You're losing, and we saw that with Mourinho, and we're seeing with him. And Rooney came in pretty hot, and I agree. He said, "I think you need to earn the right to be able to dictate exactly what happens at a football club, especially at United. If Pep comes in, for instance, I don't think anyone will question what he wants on players. I feel for Amorim a little bit, but he's not Guardiola or Klopp. He hasn't got that history or that background, so I don't think he should be speaking with that authority, and I think that's where Amorim ultimately got it wrong."
I mean, I think, as usual, Wayne has a tendency to get it right. I think he got a chance to show what three at the back is all about from November until the end of last season. It was a failure. At that point, the club is sticking with you. You have to be flexible. It's like this whole idea that you're going to be stubborn. The greatest manager in the history of football, arguably sport, Sir Alex Ferguson, was flexible. He constantly changed as the game had changed, whether he was changing it or it was changing around him, and that's what kept him at the front. He knew how to motivate players in the 90s, in the 2000s, and then in the early teens. And this guy thinking like, hey, I'm 40 coming from Sporting Lisbon, and I'm going to dictate terms. Maybe he was promised certain things. I have no doubt. Every manager, like I said, has been promised things and been let down. They've all had holes in their squad. We can't get over that fact. But the fact is like anytime you're bringing extra heat on the club, even when the performances aren't doing that, you're going to get in trouble. And that's what he did. It was like Jose did that. Things were starting to go sour on the pitch, but he also was like, fire me. He was like holding him aside and said, fire me.
Yeah, but take him at his word, right? He's the guy who said after Ipswich, like, hey, we're going to play this way, and in a year we're going to be better. And, like, we're not. So it's like he kind of had to eat crow, and then that's when this all fell apart. If you remember, they were asking him about that and the 3-4-3, and then it started just kind of going sideways. For me, look, I think Amorim forced Ineos' hand. I think Ineos is the biggest error. The club's biggest issue is the Glazers, and the second and ultimately primary issue is now Ineos, because Ineos allowed the Glazers to remain. If not for the Ineos offer, they would have had to sell the club outright. The debt would be gone. We'd probably be building a new stadium. All these things would not be issues. Ineos gave the Glazers a lifeline, and then now Ineos are calling the shots. And the big three, keeping Ten Hag after the FA Cup, horrible, and they spent an extra $200 million with him, which was not the way to go. Then they fired Dan Ashworth, and then they decided to bring in Ruben Amorim. So ultimately, 3 for 3, the 3 big deals they got wrong. They got wrong on the director of football sacking, and so Amorim, this is really a distraction from the main issue at the club, which is the Glazers and Ineos, and they got to go. Like ultimately, like I don't believe in Brada, I don't believe in Wilcox, especially if these guys thought this is their big call. Even I know as a fan this was not going to work. Lo and behold, it doesn't. It doesn't make me happy in any way that it didn't work out, but you needed something much more simple. You needed someone who fits the ethos of this club, and you needed a world-class director of football, and we have none of these things. And so what makes me think they're going to get it right next manager? I don't think they will. So I think we're going to be doing a lot more emergency pressers, but I want it to get a lot more boring. And I want them to start communicating about the long-term plan. We need a 5-year plan. This team needs a vision from a football perspective, and back three is not that vision. They knew that a year ago. Why did they appoint Amorim? Because they got the glitz and the glamour of the young hot thing, sir. And sometimes it doesn't work out.
They like to throw the fans red meat. And, we've said that. We've said this. I've said this. Both of us have said this. This crew likes to be think of themselves a little too clever, like not going for cheap free signings, loaning players. They want high flyers. They want only players with the resale value from a squad recruitment perspective. And this is the same idea. It's like, we're not going to take some not has been, but some guy who knows the league, someone who's already made a move from one club to another. That doesn't fit the profile of what we're trying to build. We're Project 2028. We're going to win in 2 years. We need this high flyer. It's like, no, you need a boring. Trust me, I didn't want Gareth Southgate a year ago. Now I'm like, yeah, bring him on. We need stability. How many times have we fired a manager?
Yes, we want to back a manager over the long term.
Most clubs fire their manager in the summer, before the summer. We've only done that twice. David Moyes, Louis van Gaal. Every single manager has been fired basically somewhere between the end of November and the beginning now of January.
Oh
every single one. Jose.
Well, we said he wouldn't make it. We said
Eric Ten Hag.
We did say he wouldn't make it.
And he shouldn't have made it. You know what? This is the right move. You pull the plug now. You bring in someone boring. Darren Fletcher will probably do better than him.
Okay, we'll get to Fletcher a little later. Let's get to the tail of the tape. Ruben Amorim, since appointed, if you look at the table here,
Niche keyed.
Few US Premier League points, and this is since the date he was appointed, November 24th, 2024, all the way to 2026. Sir, he is 14th out of the teams that weren't relegated. 58 points, 15 wins in the league. That would just be not good enough. That's like 1 win a month is what we're living on. And obviously he has that 38% win rate. The only other manager post for Sir Alex Ferguson who did not make it a year would be David Moyes. He was sacked with a 52% win rate, close to 53%. And then Ruben Amorim makes it.
He just beat
14
Ralphie.
months.
Just beat old Ralphie by like
38% win rate. obviously, when you talk about, you can't really include Rangnick because he was interim. So since the permanent manager discussion, it's the worst since the 70s. And like I said, no manager since World War II has made it more than 18 months with this bad of a win percentage.
The record
at
continues,
Manchester United. So
14 months.
And we showed you the chart on the last podcast where the trend is going down. It's actually been getting worse this year. The peak would be towards the Europa League final. So from a stats perspective, it's been abysmal. It's been bad. Clean sheets, also horrible. 15% clean sheet rate. Ole had 30, Ten Hag 35, Moyes 35, LVG 38. So again, defending was in shambles, couldn't hang on to leads. We were dropping points left and right. The highlights for Ruben Amorim: we won at Anfield. That is not something you shake your finger at. That's a big deal. I got to give him his flowers. The fact we hadn't done that since, LVG is incredible. It was a big win, but we didn't build on it. You know, that's the thing about Amorim is it was too volatile, too up and down. The lows, I'd say we lost the Europa League.
That one.
I thought it was over after this.
Should have been.
Unfair to him because as a manager, when you're new and you get an opportunity like this, maybe too early in your tenure, and it's not like we were playing Chelsea, who was 5th in the table and flying. We were playing Tottenham, who was worse than us.
Somehow. Lost to a team worse than us in the EPL.
And they had crippling injuries. Their best players were out, and the fact that we did not take off a defender to go for it, to win it,
the whole game
was bad. That if you rewatch this game, it's worse than you remember.
It is.
And I felt like that broke his back because once you lose that game with the locker room, people are going to question things. And the players, maybe not openly, but in their back of their head, they're like, we couldn't beat that bad Tottenham team. I do feel like this was probably the beginning of the end because the system didn't work. And he stuck to it. And he wasn't willing, like, as a United manager, you weren't willing, you're losing in a final, and you're not willing to take off a defender and put on an attacker to score a goal. Like, that is the antithesis of Manchester United.
It did the end of Ole. You know, he sat there in his hands, that late sub with Fred, and you're like, that's it. You know, what are you made of? This was even worse. I think losing into this Spurs side was even worse than losing to that Villarreal side. Keeping the extra defender on. They sat back the entire game, and he still had an extra defender on. That's how you knew the system was cooked. If he was like, hey, I learned my lesson, I'm going to change things up. By the way, we'd be better on the field, even though like results have been that bad, and we wouldn't have this whole blow up about system. The things I'll give him shine over are 2 things. Our set pieces have gotten much better. I would keep that set piece guy. Whoever's the set piece guy, I would keep him. Fuck, Ruben, smell you later. Keep him. He's been great. And our attack has gotten better from an XG perspective. I hope that can translate to the new manager.
Also dealing with Rashford.
No, they
Sancho,
booted out all the bums.
Antony, like he had a hard no bums philosophy.
No
I
bums.
think that benefits the club long term. Another low, you got to bring up the Grimsby
The quotes
Town.
are incredible, by the way. If you go through the quotes, he said.
No, I watched the presser in Grimsby Town. He basically said, "Fire me." Then the players don't want to play for me, and so it's like
That was August.
when you say that, then first of all, you should not say that in an interview.
There's a lot of that. A lot of like, you shouldn't have said that, sir.
But you're not coming back from that, and so I look. This is really. I hope Amorim learns from this because I think everyone likes Amorim. I think this is like Ten Hag. Everyone was sick of it.
Hated him.
Everyone was sick of it. We were sick of it. Like the pressers and just kind of gaslighting people and being overly defensive of his football. But Amorim's like a likable guy. He's charismatic, and I think he became his own worst enemy with the over emotional reactions in the press. And he has to find that balance. Like I like the authenticity, but he's got to find the balance. And look, I'm sure Manchester United is a shit place to work. I'm sure Ineos screwed him over. I'm sure he has all the right to be upset, but I'd prefer he had handled it behind closed doors where he didn't need to get sacked. And ultimately, we are here. And, Darren Fletcher is going to be the man, sir.
Unbelievable.
Fletch. You like Fletch.
Do I?
Interim manager.
I
A
don't
bit
like
of jobs for the boys, Roy Keane famously said. What does Darren Fletcher know, and why is he good to be the interim manager at Manchester United? Another ex-player coming in.
If you watch Darren Fletcher's career, I mean, he was like a job for the boys guy since the beginning. Kind of been hanging around the hoop under Eddie Woodward.
Well, we're going to slate our interim manager?
Already, baby, already. I'm going to give him a chance. This is the ultimate fail up. He's calm. He's been doing okay with the academy. That's what he's doing right now. He's the U18 coach. He is an interim. I don't know if he's going to be the interim for the entire season. He might be. They might bring someone else in.
Ornstein said... I think it was an interview, Talk Sport, basically, that it's unknown and that he does think that most likely Fletcher would be the interim
for the rest of the year.
For the rest of the year, he could be interim. It'd be the first interim that we've had. So interesting here with Fletch. I don't mind it. Look, we got to clear the air. We got to get back to basics. We got to get back to playing football and try to chip up the table and get results. This is all about money. It's all about trying to get Champions League football. And the number one rule, you got to, on the outside, you got to say you cannot hire whoever the interim is, and if they get Champions League, you cannot hire them permanently. That is a rule. You cannot do that. You cannot make the Ole
Has to be a rule. Has to be a rule.
No matter what, even if we start flying, you got to hand it off to a serious candidate.
Because you can see that happening with this. I could see Darren Fletcher with the players coming back from AFCON, with Bruno coming back, with Mount coming back, Maguire,
Why didn't Aaron last till that? Like, I don't get it. Like, all these players are coming back. And
because his pressers were deranged. Like, the pre-Leeds one, he was like 18 months. I'm out of here. That was terrible. This is what's United. But you could see this happening. Just like Ole. Ole was supposed to be the guy until the end of the season.
Hey,
they started flying. They started scoring
champagne
goals.
Problems.
That's true.
Darren Fletcher gets his Champions League
By the way, we'll be better. We'll be better. 4-2-3-1. You play.
I think you should bring Ole back. That's my
Ole back.
Ole for interim, because you can't on the song. All you need is a good song. I said it. All you need is a good song. You bring Ole back.
Great song.
Stretford End, Ole's at the wheel, baby. The vibes are back. The lads are gonna feel that environment. I think you need like a little bit of just good vibes. Ole would go a long way.
Just for the season, though. There's got to be ironclad. Ironclad.
He's available. He'd probably be better. He'd be better than Fletcher, because imagine the perspective of someone who's coming in. Hey, and I also like it for this reason. Ole left on kind of a weird terms, and he gets to come back for 4 months and just leave on the high. And I just like that idea.
No,
but regardless, if we don't make it, like, there'll be some good football. The vibes will be back, and he can leave on better terms. And I feel like that would kind of right or wrong of the past, because I think he was like a little unfairly treated towards the end there. And so I think that would be nice. Be better than Fletcher. He's also had the experience. He knows the mistakes he made. He knows the chair. He can handle the touchline. I think there's so much intangibles of this job. Handling the press. He's good with the press as well. I feel like we just need a lot of that. Like Fletcher, I don't know if you can.
You just want him back.
No, but to do 4 months of this job, how many pressers a week?
Yeah,
it's intense. And you having a guy who has that experience and is available, it'd be better to just kind of paper.
Why is he available? He's available for a reason.
I know, but he's not going to be the full coach. So I would like us to go to an Ole or a Carrick as the actual interim. Have Fletcher maybe do 2-3 games. That would be my thought. I don't want Fletcher to do the rest of the year. He doesn't have the experience. You want someone who's done it before, who knows it. Moving on to the discussion about actual permanent manager, that's going to be done in the summer, Ornstein said. And actually for Manchester United, this is opening up in a great way. Maresca's left. Like, Slot's going to get out of Liverpool. The manager market's about to open up. It's kind of like Black Monday in the NFL. All these people getting fired. Yeah. There's going to be tons of managers available for the club. So it's advantage United, but United need to get back to basics. I put together the checklist for post-Fergie to break the post-Fergie curse. If you want to start winning and get a manager who isn't going to be sacked in a year, you need someone who has elite club experience, who can handle the intangibles like I talked about it, pressure tested with the press, tactical flexibility that fits this team, back four, attacking wingers, exciting attacking football. We need that. They need to unite the dressing room in a way where they have the CV that's almost better than the players. I feel like whenever a manager who's brought in who hasn't won anything, he's kind of fighting with the locker room a little bit. Someone who works with the board and is smart with recruitment, and they need that full preseason. So I think Ineos is checking the last one there, saying, "Hey, we're going to wait till the summer." Only two names come to my mind as far as who can meet that list, and it's going to be Carlos Ancelotti. He's coaching Brazil at the World Cup. Who knows how that's going to go? Brazil fire coaches all the time, and United's a huge job.
He's old too.
He's old, but he's just got that gravitas. He's pressure tested, no nonsense guy. Players will respect him. I just feel like he's drama free. Great manager, probably the best you could get, and most likely will not get.
And a class act.
He
feels like United. He looks like a United manager. Should have got him 10 years. Should have come after Fergie. Well, that's a guy.
Ancelotti is number one gold standard, but you're not going to be able to get him.
Right.
Number two for me, which I think it's Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe.
I think Eddie Howe is boring. He's a good tactician. He knows the league inside and out, and I just feel like he can manage this transition. He's eaten crow at Newcastle. He's done well. I just feel like we need someone like that, and then you can go get the sexy thing in 3 or 4 years. You can get the Ruben Amorim 3 to 4 years from now after Eddie Howe eats crow and fixes the club. But I put Eddie Howe in the Gareth Southgate boring stewardship, work with the board, be flexible, which is what we need for the long term. And I like Ancelotti number 1, maybe Eddie Howe figure. Who do you got?
I like your list, just as a preface. The one thing I would add or augment to this list is EPL proven experience. That's where Ancelotti does not have. I think you saw the value in that.
Everton.
The absence. That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That was a while ago.
So
you're right. That does count. That does count.
That should be in the elite club experience pressure test at EPL.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hence Everton, People's Club, Toffees.
Well, Real Madrid, Champions League winner. Like I don't know. You're right.
No, he's a killer.
No,
he's a
has
killer.
to have
He's a
EPL
killer.
experience.
He's a
Has to have.
But
EPL
you're right. He does know
experience,
the EPL. You're right. We coached for Everton. Unbelievable. They got him, and we didn't. Pre this blow up, pre all this drama, even like as of December 1st, because things really heated up over the holidays. I don't know what happened. Whose Secret Santa he was and who he got shorted by, but he was all pissed off over the holidays. I would have wanted a Glasner, in terms of just profile, right? EPL proven. He won against big clubs, FA Cup, Community Shield, etc. But now I think he's kind of like a better Ruben Amorim, like super hardo, super adamant around his system. He does play a back 3. I don't like that. He showed a little bit of flexibility when he was in Germany, but
another
still,
maniac kind of.
No, but another maniac. Yeah. I hate to say it. I kind of want old like glass of 2% milk Gareth Southgate.
Just
people are gonna think I'm a chump. People think I'm an idiot. But he's kind of a version of Ole, where it's like he'll get so much air cover from the press. He'll manage the pressers fine because he's not controversial.
We talked about it before.
He'll play. He knows some of these lads from England. He knows Mount. He knows Kobe. He knows Shaw. He knows Magoo. He'll play a 4-2-3-1.
But you won't win nothing.
But you won't win nothing.
You
but
won't
he's
win
interim.
nothing.
He's
Eddie
basically
Howe's won something though. Here's the one thing about Eddie Howe.
He won one thing.
Imagine that. He has to deal with the whole PIF drama.
PIF.
He's had to deal with a lot, dude. And
true.
tonally gambling. He's had to deal with all this drama.
He's
He's been eating crow. He's no nonsense and they play football. And guess what? He wants out of there. He'd take the United job, obviously.
All day. Everybody would.
So I just think for me, Eddie Howe is exactly Eddie Howe is the better version of Gareth Southgate.
He is
by far.
But he cost you an arm and a leg because Newcastle would make you.
Of course, but we paid an arm and a leg to get Amorim, and that didn't work out. So I'd rather go the manager decision. We'll keep you posted. This is early, just Muppet talk around. Who could possibly be the manager.
Also, because Ineos don't know yet. Ineos are flying by the seat of their
pants. By the way,
bro.
they're not going to hire someone out of Italy. They're not going to hire someone out of Portugal. Like EPL, how many EPL managers have done it and been available? Southgate, what did he manage? Like
Middlesbrough, it went shit.
No way.
It went terrible.
Maresca,
don't like
loose
him.
cannon, can't have
no,
him.
another
Glasner, another one.
You would say
Thomas Tuchel has also been a name that's been rumored,
but he's
similar to
England.
Ancelotti because he's with. But I think Tuchel wants out of England after the World Cup.
But you don't want a World Cup because you miss
gonna,
preseason. Then you miss your preseason angle.
Well, all the players are gonna be at the World Cup anyway. I do think there's gonna be some World Cup coaches. Like I think Poch is gonna coach US and then leave. A lot of these World Cup coaches are going to coach and then leave, and I think Tuchel could be available. Tuchel would be another name I'd throw in there. But we're going to keep you posted on the manager search and all this, and take everything we said on the Amorim news with a grain of salt. But one thing we always need to be thinking about is what Sir Bobby Charlton said, and I feel like we got to get back to basics. Whoever is the next manager at Manchester United, let's listen to Sir Bobby here.
Manchester United was always about adventurous football, giving young players a chance. That's what Matt Busby started when in 1949, 1950. He brought in young players, which was unheard of. 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and he was playing them in the hotbed of the first division. And it was people couldn't understand it. But it became what Manchester United was famous for: giving young players a chance, playing adventurous football, being aggressive. Don't be afraid. Go for it. And if you're a man that works on an ordinary shop floor, and your one highlight of your whole week is to go and see a football club play, Matt Busby always said it should. When these lads come to watch you play, you should give them something that they can't do themselves. Something exciting, something adventurous, Nothing mundane, nothing boring. So Manchester United has never played defensive football. It's always played attacking, adventurous football. It's always had the type of players that were expressive, and young players especially always got their opportunity here. And that was the case with Matt Busby, and it's the case with Alex Ferguson, and it continues. Manchester United just keeps growing and just keeps growing, and it will continue to grow because there's nothing like it. It's a phenomenon, a cult in a way. You know, people don't become Manchester United fans and then change their mind and go somewhere else. That does not happen.
God
There
bless
you
him.
go.
We miss him. We miss
know.
you. We miss you so much. So well said. I hate to say another. Two things, the two biggest pillars of what the Manchester United identity is built on: attacking football and youth. Both those things Ruben Amorim threw out the window. He shat all over the youth.
Well, he got better at the end, and then obviously the amount of defenders on the field and not taking him off. Totally. But I think we got the whole issue comes down to Glazers, comes down to Ineos. We lost our minds. We got away from this. What Sir Bobby outlines is exactly what the director of football should have on his wall. Wake up every day and think about that, and that's what Manchester United should be about. And I feel like we need to get back to basics. Let's get into some fan questions. Woo-hoo-hoo-wee. Appreciate everybody tweeting us at USA Red Devils on Twitter. Jump in if you want to get involved in the conversation. At Randy Scrandy L, pretty simple, really. Amorim wants full control. Sir Jim isn't going to let him have control over the board. He throws a fit, gets sacked, everyone loses. And Ineos looks clueless again. Amorim had pathetic results and shit tactics to bring to the table. Fans lose again. Yes, with these owners, fans always lose. Lebowski. At D_Cole18, took Sir Alex Ferguson 7 years to build a club to his style. We can't keep repeating the same process without giving coaches the time and players to implement themselves. That said, Amorim's defensive control style was antithetical to what MUFC is as a club. We should have backed Ole after Sancho flopped. I do agree. The whole sacking carousel has to stop, but I feel like a lot of the issues have been with the selections. So Ineos made 3 big errors there, and I think those 3 errors hopefully should inform this next manager decision. So if you see Glasner or Maresca, they didn't learn. They didn't learn. So, if you see Maresca or Glasner as the manager of United, you know they didn't learn, and that would be like an oh no moment. I hope they actually learned. At Ty Kircher, the not-so merry-go-round spins again. Surely this is the time they'll get it right, right? Honestly, just being back, bring back Ole till the end of the season and find the right man for the job after that. Don't rush it. I hope they keep Ashworth's notes. Ashworth's laughing somewhere. Cheshire cat grin.
Yes, he is.
At you, Bosun, it's been coming. An indictment of Project Ineos won't be resolved until the club is free from Glazers and Ineos. Amen. Hope an interim can bring some vibes, though. I feel the club is so broken that there won't be a new manager bounce. What do you think? New manager bounce or not?
I think if it's I think if it's boring, I think if it's Ole, I think if it's even Fletcher and they just say, hey, we're going to stick with them at the end of the season because we do well at Burnley, we do well in the FA Cup tie against Brighton, they'll stick with them. I don't think it's going to take much to buoy people's spirits. I think United is a dormant beast waiting to explode. We have the best squad we've had. We have the best squad we've had since Jose with like Zlatan. Basically, we have a really decent squad. We have a good attack. We've got a high flying keeper. We've got really good crop of young defenders. Yeah, we've got a hole in central mid and we've got a hole in number 9. Sheshko needs backup, but this is a decent squad. Like you put a 4-2-3-1 together with Bruno Fernandes at 10. He's got Cunha to the left. He's got Mbeumo to the right. You could play Amada. You just have options. You have Mount. So, dude, this team is not bad. This is a lot better than it was with like Fred.
If you play in a way where
you're
the
taking
best player on your team can play in the 10.
Yeah, unleash them. Unleash the
you know
beast.
what I'm saying? Like, yes, exactly. I totally agree.
Unleash the vibes. This club. What's his name? What did
that guy?
What did the legend say, sir?
Sir Bobby Charles.
What did Bobby say? Which is like, no one turns away from this club. Bring it back.
Exactly.
We want to be unleashed. This fan base is begging to be unleashed.
It's going to be back, baby. It's going to be back.
Whether it's this year, 10 years from now.
We've been doing this pod how long? I don't even know.
9 years, bro.
9 years in, bro. 9 years of eating crow. This has been the brutal 9 years. Watch every game, and like one day you're going to see it, and we're going to know. And we're going to look at each other, and we're going to be like, we're back, baby. So
back.
At FPL North, why keep Wilcox? He will turn into his boys FC and hire Maresca. That is a good point. Wilcox is boys with Maresca, and if you know,
don't like Maresca.
If you see Maresca, then look,
every
manager gets a new start. prove me wrong to a certain point, but like I do think they're not learning from their mistakes. If you look at Chelsea and how he acted, I don't know the full story. No one knows the full story. So, but it's like a new modern structure. The director of football is a big deal. Like, why is Wilcox director of football? Great point. I don't know why. He's never done it at a top club. Why do they make him? But the director of football should be able to fire the manager, and the director of football should be able to hire the manager. But I think we probably got the wrong director of football for whatever reason. At Love the Balls, seems nowadays it's common to give coaches and managers 3 or 4 contracts, then sack them 18 months in. Since United have a track record of doing that, then why don't they do 2-year contracts, waste of money? Because the coaches know that.
Yeah, market.
And then they want extra years.
Right.
And so
they want to agree to a 2-year deal to get pulled out of a club that they're already at. Because, by the way, every time we go for a manager, they have to be bought out of their existing club, and they don't want some flimsy contract, right?
All right. Last one here. At Brandon Tichy, what will Amram's quote be for the introduction? We're mulling that one.
It's got to be the worst football club ever. It should be a poll. Do a poll tomorrow when things are set up. But it's got to be like on the worst football club. We're the worst Manchester United team in history.
I don't think I'm going to have it done this week, but we'll get
the.
There's the one about the Pope. The Pope couldn't make him change his system, which was funny.
He was he had some insane quotes.
I'm the manager of Manchester United.
No, he's begging to be fired.
Like the Somali pirate, like, look at me. I'm the captain.
I'm the captain now.
He's like, I'm the manager now. It's like, no, you're sacked, dude.
No,
you're sacked.
You're out, bro. Good luck.
What a day. What a time to be a United fan. Everyone's just like, take a break from the drama. Let's get back to watching good football. We got Burnley. That's a perfect interim manager appointment. So I'm hoping for a win. Get some vibes back. The lads need it.
Fourth the back.
Get Sheshko
Fourth the back,
goal.
baby. Fourth the back.
Like, get away from it. Sir, give us our top downloads last 7 days.
Appreciate all the American Devils. You guys are the best. Thanks for supporting the pod. It's been tough. It's been a tough decade. I thought it's been a tough year, tough season. It's been a tough 9 years. Here we go. Top 10 cities last 7 days. Number 1, Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Illinois, Charlotte, North Carolina, Dublin, Ireland, Orlando, Florida, Melbourne, Australia, Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, New York, and last but not least, Oslo, Norway. Appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out. We will be with you after the Burnley match.
Always darkest before the dawn.
Always darkest before it's pitch black. Feels that way. Hang in there. We appreciate all of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out our Patreon. Buy some merch. Thanks for stopping by.
Glory, glory, Man United.